what's up, everybody? It's just me and one other person, but I hope you're doing good. Let me switch over to my chats. I like to use the StreamYard chat because it's big, and then so I can type in regular chat because I can't type in StreamYard because it shows up as Gemma, and I don't want everybody thinking it's her. And yeah, I butchered the hair. I hate new haircuts, so it'll take a while for it to settle. I hope everybody's having a good weekend or had a good weekend while the East Coast is getting blasted by a Northeastern. They're getting slammed pretty good. Jersey's getting hit hard. So all on that coast, it was hitting Connecticut pretty good when I last looked. I hope everybody is good and being safe out there. We're getting a little bit. I'd say we probably got a good dusting right now, maybe a quarter inch. It comes and goes. But we're just getting this lake effect stuff. But I hope everybody's good. Tonight, I'm going to replay. I don't know if everybody can see when I put the, hey, slow motion, how you doing? Put in what we're doing tonight. This is the one we'll be watching tonight. Just I'm ready to hit the rack. You got 20 minutes, Gus. I got 20 minutes. Well, if you want to, I can start the replay now if you want, or you can just sit and chat. I usually give everybody time to come in. Not too many people come in. A lot of people watch the replay of the replay. So I hope you're good. How's the weather there? I'm not going to ask how life is because it's crazy everywhere. So how's the weather? It's snowy here. Jersey's getting slammed. The whole East Coast up there is getting slammed. Pretty hard, too. They're going to see some records, I think, in some places. Big time. And this is a one-in-a-lifetime thing. They said when the whole state of New Jersey is under a blizzard warning, that's never happened. Never happened. That's a first. We get them all the time here, but not a whole state. That's pretty rare when you get a whole state under a blizzard watch. But yeah, I hope you're good, sir. She's doing good, and that's another thing. I'm going to try to keep streaming. Depends on my views. If it's not worth it for where I'm doing, but I like doing them. That's why I keep doing them. I try to keep doing them. I mean, there's times I've had to miss, and not much I can do about it. And right now I got Pop in a nursing home doing therapy so I can get him home because he fell and broke a hip where he fractured his hip and now had to have a rod put in. A 92-year-old man. He's going a little nuts there, but even he admitted that he needed to be there just a little bit longer. So go on with the insurance company to just keep him a little bit longer. Other than that, everything's good. But yeah, I'm going to get ready to start this. You still there? Did you shave? Yeah, I shaved. Weather here is Irish. Yeah, I figured. Either it's raining, windy. I get it. Yeah, I shaved. I went and got a haircut yesterday. I needed it bad. So I went and got one. So, yeah. My hair was getting pretty long, but it was like hanging down over my eyes. That was driving me nuts. And then I figured, oh, you might as well shave me too. You can see where I got tagged a while back ago. I don't think that will ever go away. This one's not as bad as this one. Oof. But yeah, I'm good. Hope you're good. I can start the replay. I see everybody bouncing in. It's not. But Gemma's trying to figure things out with the streaming and everything. She's got a lot going on. So bear with her. Make sure you check out her TikToks and her shorts. Please make sure you hype them and like them and all that fun stuff. Check out that new book. Oh, I'm going to order mine and a couple other ones. I thought I had them all, but I am missing a couple. But I know I had them on. I'm still in Santa mode. Really? I don't know. I'm not. I'll tell you what, though, the snow makes me feel like Christmas. That's why I like snow so much, because it gives me that holiday spirits. Keeps me happy. I do love the snow. Man, when it got cold the other week, and it got cold here, colder than normal. My bones did not like that, but I still went sledding. I still made sure I went sledding. So, but yeah, let me get this started. It is going to be an early night. I'll probably get done about 11:30 or so. This one's only 28 minutes, and if nobody was around when I'm done with this one, I'll hang for a little bit, and if not, I'll just go ahead and go on my merry way. But I do hope everybody's out there being safe. I know a lot of people are watching the weather, especially those on the East Coast. So let's do this. I got it propped and ready to go. So here we go. Get it ready. Sorry about that. Let me get myself in focus here. It's ready to go. I think it's ready to be shared. And it's on. Okay, let me move me down here. My corner. Make this big again. And here we go. If there's any problems with sound, please let me know. My great nephews and nieces love the beard. I want the beard back too. It won't take long to grow back. Believe me, it will not take long to grow back. It'll only take a little bit. Giles is always my age. My son, he's trying to grow a beard now, and he keeps getting the I'm just gonna outright say the pubic hair chin. And I tell him, you gotta shave, dude. You gotta shave. But yeah, I mean, it's already scruffy already. I can guarantee by Wednesday, or by the end of the week, you'll be able to notice it even more. It will come in pretty good. The only problem is I have what they call a wild beard. It just does whatever it wants. I've tried oils and everything, so I can't get it to lay right. It just goes wherever it wants to, no matter what I do with it. So once it starts getting too bushy, I gotta cut it because it just gets too crazy looking. But here we go.
What is up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is GemmaJade, but today we are going to be discussing who killed Lindsay Buziak. As I work hard and diligently on the Galactic Federation series, which is already becoming quite a headache, I decided to cover some more true crime in the meantime. I want to say first and foremost that I in no way, shape, or form mean for this video to be triggering to any of the family, friends, or loved ones of the deceased, and am merely putting it out for informational purposes only, and only with and in the interest of helping to keep the case fresh in people's minds as it is still unsolved. This one has captivated me, guys, from the very moment I heard about it, and I still cannot wrap my head around what happened here or why. I am also more than likely going to turn comments off, and for that, I have my own reasons. With all that being said, let's just jump right in here. Lindsay Elizabeth Buziak was an up-and-coming real estate agent in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, who was really well-liked and making a name for herself among her peers in her field in general back in 2008. She was happy and proud of the accolades she was receiving among her fellow real estate agents, and she was in a serious relationship where all seemed to be well with a man named Jason Zuelo. Jason's family was very wealthy and extremely prominent in the community, and they owned several very successful real estate businesses. Lindsay's future was full of promise, and things were going really well and looking up for her. However, in February of 2008, tragedy would strike, and the unthinkable would happen, leaving Lindsay's loved ones in a desperate quest for answers and justice that still goes on to this day. At the time, Lindsay was mainly selling smaller real estate, which meant houses that sold for under $500,000. But something happened that not only surprised her very much, but also that made her think things were going to change for her for the better, and soon. In late January, she received a phone call from a number she wasn't familiar with and didn't have the contact in her phone for. She answered and was greeted by a woman who seemed to have been speaking in a very unfamiliar foreign accent. The woman said she was looking to buy a very expensive luxury home for her and her husband. The woman had a budget of over $1 million, which was much more than what Lindsay was used to dealing with. The woman also had very detailed specifications as to what she and her husband were looking for and said that they were looking for a home that was all but ready to be moved into and set up. The woman also specified that it had to be within 15 to 20 minutes from town and to have 3 bedrooms, 3 bathrooms, and a separate quarters for their housekeepers within the home itself. The foreign woman stressed very much that she had no time to wait or waste and had to get started seeing properties right away. Lindsay was a bit suspicious and wondered how the woman had gotten her personal phone number, and she wasn't afraid to ask about it. The woman quickly replied that she had gotten it from one of Lindsay's former clients, and this was a little odd because normally the protocol was for a potential buyer to call the firm's number directly when they were looking to buy or sell real estate. She figured it was what it was, though, and she did try to contact the client the woman said had referred her to Lindsay and who had given her that number, but the client was on vacation at the time. No other clients of Lindsay's knew anything about the woman or how she could have gotten the number either. Lindsay had a decision to make, and despite feeling a bit uncomfortable, she thought the price tag was a bit intimidating and possibly out of her league. She was up for the challenge. She immediately went to work compiling a list of properties for the new wealthy client. She emailed a list of some suggestions to the client, and over the course of the next few days, she and the woman spoke over the phone at least 10 more times. They eventually decided on an upscale property in the posh suburb of Saanich. Lindsay was still a little nervous about the whole situation because she was a relatively junior employee at her firm, and it was so odd for someone to just call her cell phone and wanting to buy $1 million or more home. However, her boyfriend convinced her to help the woman because of the potential commission she would receive on such an expensive property. She and the woman were set to meet on Saturday, February 2nd, 2008 at 5:30 p.m. Now, some sources say that a man with a thick accent then called Lindsay and said that he was the husband and he would be meeting her alone. As I say at the end of this video, I did leave some stuff out because I couldn't fact check it well enough, and I don't want to put the wrong information in here to the best of my humble ability when using only YouTube as my source. To ease Lindsay's nerves a little bit, Jason said he would meet her in front of the residence and hang around outside to make sure everything was on the up and up after he dropped off some paperwork at a local shop that specialized in auto detailing. Lindsay simply referred to the foreign female client as the Mexican, and that's a quote. Some people took issue with the nickname, but I think that Lindsay just couldn't place the accent and thought maybe it sounded some sort of Spanish. I don't think she meant anything by it, but I didn't know her, so honestly, I don't know. But I don't see why it's been such a big deal or point of contention in the first place after what was done to Lindsay that day, so I'm just going to move on. Jason texted Lindsay saying, quote, "I'll come and meet you. I'll be there in 10 to 15 minutes or so," end quote, to which she replied, quote, "Okay, I'll see you in a bit. I've got to go. The Mexicans are here," end quote. As Lindsay got out of the car to greet her clients, Jason texted her one more time to tell her he was almost there. It read, quote, "Just a couple of minutes away," end quote. That text would never be opened, and they wouldn't ever see one another again. The next time Jason saw his girlfriend, Lindsay Buziak, she would be deceased. As with all murder investigations, some of the details are a bit fuzzy, and there are conflicting sources everywhere. So, like I said, I did my best to try and get the most accurate and sensical information for this video, and I apologize once again if any mistakes are made. Several witnesses would come forward later on and say that they saw Lindsay at the house that day with a woman who had short blonde hair and wore, quote, "a distinctive red dress," end quote. There was also a 6-foot-tall, well-dressed Caucasian man with the woman, and he had dark hair. Remember that nothing that they were doing was technically abnormal behavior. For a woman to say that she was going to come alone and bring her husband with her, or a man that said he's going to come alone and bring his wife, the woman did say she was looking for a property for her, she and her husband. Also, keep in mind, Lindsay knew that her own boyfriend was on his way to come and make sure everything was okay. She had that in the back of her head the whole time. I wouldn't feel much fear in that situation either, honestly. Jason Zuelo arrived at the house within seconds of Lindsay going inside, and he arrived with his friend. He didn't go into the house, though, and he didn't check on Lindsay because he wanted her to finish showing the house first. Imagine how unprofessional that would have looked. Like, oh, here's my boyfriend. He's going to walk through the house with us. Like, no, that would have looked bad. So after waiting, parked around the corner from the home for about a half an hour, he texted Lindsay again, asking her if she was almost done. He went to the front door, and when he tried to open it, it was locked. This immediately set off alarm bells for Jason, who was involved in the real estate business himself, as I mentioned earlier, because he knew that no real estate agent would ever lock the doors to a home they were actively showing. Jason was frantic, and after banging on the door and calling out for his girlfriend and ringing the doorbell several times, all with no answer at all, he called the authorities. Now, I heard that the authorities were called once when he was outside the residence saying, like, I can't get in, my girlfriend's showing the house, the door is locked, etc., etc. And then he called again once he got inside and saw what he saw. Jason and his friend didn't feel comfortable just standing around waiting for the police to arrive, knowing that Lindsay could be in some sort of trouble or possibly in need of help or assistance behind the locked door. And so his friend went around to the back of the house in order to get inside and open the door to let him in the front. He saw immediately that the back door was wide open, and after letting Jason inside, the two of them searched the home. Some say they both entered through the back door, and others say the friend let Jason in by unlocking the front door. I saw in more sources that they both entered through the rear, though, so just putting that out there. It took mere minutes for them to find the body of Lindsay Buziak. It was bloodied and lifeless in one of the upstairs bedrooms. The police got there and shut the scene down in order to protect the integrity of the investigation, and it didn't take them long to see that Lindsay had been brutally stabbed more than 40 times about her body. A very odd component to the scene was that there wasn't a single defensive wound on Lindsay's body, which means she didn't try to fight back at all. There was no sign of intimate assault or robbery either. It didn't make any sense at all and would begin to make even less as time went on. Forensics teams and detectives searched the whole house from top to bottom, but there wasn't a single sign that anyone had ever been in the residence with her at all. Even stranger still were the canine units that were brought in who couldn't detect any foreign scents anywhere inside or out of the home. They only picked up Lindsay's scent. That part really didn't make any sense to me, because how would they have had a scent for the dogs to try and pick up from people who no one knew who they were? I'm sure it's possible, but I'm really confused by that part. It's said that the couple had seemed to completely vanish into thin air. No fingerprints were found at the scene and no traces of anyone's DNA. And in fact, the entire scene was completely devoid of any usable forensic evidence at all. The first thing the investigators did was try to get a lead on who had come to see the house in the first place. They needed to figure out who the couple was who had met with Lindsay that day, because obviously those two were the prime suspects. That would prove harder than anyone could have ever imagined, and it's still a mystery to this day. The investigators started by questioning all of the neighbors near the home Lindsay was found in and had been showing that day, but there wasn't a single one of them who saw anyone leaving the scene. That was strange in and of itself, because their appearance had been odd and very distinct, meaning by the descriptions given by the previous witnesses who had described seeing the man and woman with Lindsay earlier in the day, they stood out and had a very distinctive appearance. Because Lindsay only referred to the couple as the Mexicans, and there was never any mention of actual names or other useful contact information or anything like that, it made things even more confusing for the investigators. They did manage to uncover that the couple had been contacting Lindsay using what's called a burner phone, and that it had been purchased at a convenience store in Vancouver 3 to 6 weeks prior to the murder. The phone was never used to contact anyone other than Lindsay and was registered to the fake name of Paulo Rodriguez. A burner phone, for those of you who may not know, is a phone like the ones you can buy in Walmart or 7-Eleven, where you don't have to provide any information at all, and all you have to do is buy the phone and usually a card with a certain number of minutes on it. And when the minutes run out, you buy another card, but it doesn't go through a company and it doesn't get shut off. Therefore, they're basically like disposable cell phones that leave no trace behind of who the person who purchased them was. This was a lot more common in 2008 than it is nowadays, but they still sell burners and people still use them a lot.
Yeah,
there's no way of knowing if someone is calling or otherwise contacting you with one either. They should make it known, because it would be suspicious to some people, like a real estate agent who's being contacted by a client, and perhaps they wouldn't even get involved with their killers in the first place if they knew something shady like this was going on. With that being said, though, guys, it shouldn't always pull up red flags. And in fact, it's more of a thing for people with lower incomes. I've had many burner phones in my day. Yeah, even though the phone had been purchased up to a month and a half in advance, it hadn't actually been activated until about 48 hours before the murder. And even that lead went dead when they found out it had been registered under that fake name. I don't know how it works in Canada, but in New Jersey, you don't need an ID for a burner phone or to buy minutes. So I don't understand how they knew or what they meant by saying it had been registered under a fake name, but I digress. Things probably work differently there. Here, you just go into the store and buy it. The phone had actually been deactivated almost immediately after the murder had been committed, and apparently there was a name and address listed as owners of the phone. The name was a fake, as I said, but the address was actually a real address. It's just that it was actually a business that police knew had no connection to the murder. Every lead was going nowhere, and investigators were striking out left and right. That had to have been very frustrating for them and devastating for Lindsay's family, friends, and loved ones. The police eventually concluded that the address had more than likely been chosen at random. Investigators did end up uncovering some clues that led directly to the couple as being the killers. Remember, it had only been assumed that they were her killers because the police had no way of knowing right away and only knew that they had been there to meet her at the house. It could have been that they met her and then someone else came in and attacked her afterwards and locking the door or something like that. They didn't know for sure right away. As unlikely as that scenario was, investigators had to look at every single angle. Based on the clues eventually found, though, it seemed like the odd couple were the people who had ended Lindsay's life. Lindsay Buziak had a very close relationship with her father, Jeff Buziak, and she had expressed to him that she had reservations about taking on this specific client. She told her father that something didn't sit right in her gut with the woman and that she seemed to be a little off. Lindsay also said she felt like the woman's accent was fake. She thought the woman was forcing herself to speak that way and described it to her father as, quote, kind of Spanish, but not really, end quote. It really bothered her, according to what she explained to her father, that the woman had called her personal cell phone and not the company phone like everyone else would do if they were looking to purchase a home, especially one of that caliber. For as suspicious and apprehensive as Lindsay was, she still didn't want to back out of the deal. But it is why the normally independent and self-sufficient young woman had wanted her boyfriend to tag along and wait for her outside while she showed the home to these people. Even though the police and investigators had pretty much decided that the couple had committed the murder after all, they were still having a very hard time discerning any sort of motive as to why these two random strangers or random people, depending on which it was, would want to kill Lindsay in the first place. After all, she had no known enemies, and it was unimaginable to those who knew her that someone would not only want her dead, but who would take her life in such a brutal fashion. Lindsay was described as someone who got along with everyone she met and being a kind-hearted and loving young woman. Authorities said the crime was definitely not a random one that just happened by chance, and it was looking more and more like a well-thought-out and planned, premeditated murder. They said it would have taken a tremendous amount of planning and thought in order to be able to pull it off as perfectly as they seem to have done. It was elaborate and extremely detailed down to the very last move. So, at the end of the day, they had to ask themselves, and those who knew Lindsay best, who would want to brutally murder this otherwise very unassuming young woman, and more importantly, why? One of the theories the investigators had was that perhaps she had been targeted by someone she knew for a professional hit. The couple certainly seemed like professionals with how effortlessly and precisely this whole thing had been carried out, leaving no trace behind. They thought that maybe she had seen or heard something she wasn't supposed to have seen or heard, and someone felt she was a threat that needed to be eliminated. Now, I saw sources that said she had confided in someone, either her father or her best friend, that she had in fact seen something that she wasn't supposed to see and she was nervous. But again, I was trying to stick with what I could fact check. So I really don't know, guys.
Fact checking.
I just feel like even if some of the details are shaky, at least this gets people talking about it and going and researching for themselves. One investigator on the case said, quote, there is nothing in her life, and we've conducted an extensive background check that would indicate that she was involved in anything criminal, in anything of a domestic violence relationship, and that's the most perplexing thing. It is possible Buziak's killers were under the mistaken impression she had revealed information she shouldn't have, or perhaps that she was somehow connected to a dangerous person without even knowing it. You can be a person who just works and minds his own business there in Victoria, yet through a very brief network of friends, you could be absolutely connected to people that are involved in very bad things, end quote. Think about that, guys. Think about how many people you meet on a daily basis.
You meet a lot of people.
Think about all of our friends here, all of our gemstones, our friends in chat, our friends on YouTube, and other streams. Do we really know the ins and outs and every intricate little detail of these people's lives? We don't know that they're all good people. And in fact, I've gotten some really bad hits off of some people who have come in chat. Not any of the regulars, but still, you just don't know who someone is until you actually know them. So she could have known someone who knew someone and been somewhere. You know, it can just, when it's just theorizing and speculating, really anything is possible. I just hate that this hasn't been solved. She was responsibly going about her job.
I don't know if she did a reading.
Another idea they had was that perhaps it was a personal crime and had been planned and or carried out, or at least commissioned by someone Lindsay knew and that she possibly knew very well. The first person they thought about, obviously, was her boyfriend, Jason Zalo, and the main reason was because her friends had come forward with information about Lindsay always complaining that he was jealous, possessive, and overly controlling. It was said she had been planning on breaking up with him, or at the very least that she had said she wanted to on many different occasions. However, Jason Zuelo was very quickly dismissed as a suspect after they checked out his alibi and looked more closely at him as a person. I'm not sure exactly what led them to that conclusion or how they cleared him, but I'm sure they did extensive background checks and talked to those who knew him best. Also, remember, he was with a friend or coworker at the time of the murder and had been sitting outside calling and texting her while she was in the house with the strange couple. There's no way he could have physically done it at the very least. They looked into many others in the community as well and came up empty. And they even did an investigation into Jason's very well-known wealthy family that were very prominent in the community, but they were able to eventually clear all of them as well. While everyone agreed that there was no obvious person or suspect who would have wanted her dead, they also agreed that in a community as close and tight-knit as where Lindsay lived in Victoria, someone knew something, and everyone was hoping that that someone would just come forward with the information. Inspector Rob McCall, the leader of the investigation, came forward and said, quote, "This killing was very organized. There was a lot of planning and effort and forethought. These are the most complex crimes, and this is the most egregious crime, and often they can become long-term and complicated. There are people in the community who are withholding information. We know there is a bit of a cone of silence around this. It's not cool to tell on your friends. It's not cool to rat people out. Many times in a homicide investigation, you can get past that because it's also not cool to kill people. There should be some assurance to anyone that is considering speaking to the police that we're not really interested in the skeletons in your closet. We have the ability to put that aside and focus in on what we're really interested in, and that's catching these killers," end quote. So basically, he's offering immunity for anyone who knows something and isn't directly involved. They won't be penalized for withholding the information up until the point they came forward. And when dealing with people who would know things like this, I think that was kind of a good move. I mean, people who hang around with murderers or who learn of murderers, people in their orbit being murderers, sometimes are not in the best positions themselves. And I commend and applaud the investigators that they were willing to put that aside and put things aside like drugs or warrants in order to get the crime solved for the family and to get the case closed. And I really do commend them for that. Throughout the years, there have been several tips that eventually led nowhere. In 2008, though, there seemed to be information that came from one of Lindsay's closest friends who came forward with a very bizarre lead. This woman said she had been woken up in the middle of the night to her cell phone ringing, and when she looked, it was an unknown caller. She didn't recognize the number, but she picked it up anyway. When she did, there was a woman on the other end of the line speaking to her in a strange sounding accent that she just couldn't place. It dawned on her that this was similar to how Lindsay had described the accent of the woman who was suspected of eventually killing her. The friend hung up because she was scared, but after a few moments taken to compose herself, she decided to call the number back and confront the caller.
Smart
She
move.
called no less than 20 times, and it just rang and rang before finally somebody picked up. That someone, rather shockingly, was Jason's mother, Shirley Zuelo. Lindsay's friend asked not only why she had called her at such a strange hour, but how she had gotten her number because the two didn't even know each other. Shirley explained that she had dialed the number by accident and had actually meant to call her secretary. She also said that she had no idea why the young woman's number was in her contacts, but that her son Jason must have added it for some reason or another. That's what Lindsay's friend said happened. So that's allegedly what happened.
Interesting.
I've read sources that said when they checked Shirley's phone records, it actually did happen. But I have to keep it at alleged because I don't know. I couldn't find reputable sources that had that information. But just know that information is out there that she was caught in a lie. But I don't know. I'm just saying allegedly for the sake of my own livelihood here. I don't understand why the friend would have a reason to lie, but that's just my opinion.
That a lot lately.
So that's what Lindsay's friend said happened, but Shirley, when questioned by the police about the matter, categorically denied that the phone call had ever even happened in the first place and said the young woman was either confused, mistaken, or flat out lying. Once the news media got a hold of this story, Lindsay's father, Jeff, wouldn't let the issue go because he believed Lindsay's friend. And I also think he wouldn't let it go because, in my opinion, from what I saw in several sources, they did find that she had called her in the middle of the night. Whether or not she spoke in this strange accent or not is I don't know, but he began lobbying for police to take another look at the Zuelos, mainly Shirley, as a suspect in his daughter's homicide, to the point where Shirley threatened to sue him for defamation of character. And I think if you look like what's happened since this case, I think she actually did. So you're going to sue the victim's father? Really?
And they probably did. I'm going to have to ask her.
In my opinion, allegedly. Come for me if you want to. Mm-hmm. In 2017, there was an alleged full confession posted to a message board about the case that might have come from the actual killer, but there was obviously no real name along with it and no way of knowing who had written it. I read again, and I couldn't back it up with facts and reputable sources that they did find out that this was a fake, but I don't know. It read, quote, "I killed Lindsay and stupid cops will never prove it, so you all got nothing. No one gives a poop anymore anyhow, except for crybaby dad. Even her fakey girlfriends have washed it away. Typical loser chicks. Saanich cops dropped it because they can't solve poop and were told to drop it. Cut the phony investigation. It's done. Go home, losers. Forget about her. The street always rules. B-words die every day." End quote. The message caused quite a stir, obviously, but at the end of the day, there were no answers that came from it, and it didn't bring the case any closer to getting solved or to being closed. No significant leads have ever come up, and the case is still unsolved. There's a walk that takes place every February as a sort of memorial to what happened to Lindsay, but even that doesn't get anyone any closer to finding out what happened to her or bringing her killers to justice. But I'm sure it does kind of put the case back in the spotlight. And if it's a comfort to her loved ones, her family, her father, her friends,
too, and why she's
I'm glad
about some of these again.
Guys, there is so much more information on this case than I put in here because, like I said, a lot of it I couldn't fact check. Plus, I really wanted to just summarize, which is something I normally don't do. Normally, I will put every single detail, but I'm having a really busy and stressful week, and I didn't want to completely not put a video out, but I figured this is enough information here to get y'all interested so you can check it out for yourself. I encourage you all to do your own research. As always, inform your own opinions and draw your own conclusions. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed hanging out with me, if you enjoyed hanging out with each other in the premiere. Check out the description box for some awesome stuff. I don't think you guys know a lot of what I do and a lot of what I offer. Links for the Kindle and paperback versions of all 3 of my books on Amazon, ways to donate to the channel, PayPal, Cash App, and my Amazon wish list gift link. My Patreon link is down there as well. JiveCreations.com for GemmaJade and Ghostdragonzw.
There. Okay, let me end this here real quick. Thank you for joining me on that. I got to end it. Stop. Goodbye. All right. Yeah. Thank you for joining me. Since I seem to be the only one here, somebody keeps popping in and out, but I appreciate those who come and watch the replay of this. Have a wonderful week. Those who getting hit by the snowstorm on the East Coast, the Northeastern, please be careful out there. It's looking crazy. I've been checking while I watch this. Once again, thank you for joining me, those who kind of popped in and out. Have a good one, Slow-Mo. Please take care of yourself. Hope to see you around. And I'll be here next weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, depending. Just keep an eye on Facebook, if I can remember to post it on there, and keep it on YouTube. Hopefully Gemma will be back soon and we'll have some good ideas. If anybody's got anything to say, I'm going to call it a night because it's all about chat afterwards. So there he is. Have you as much as Nighthawk had a few minutes ago? What? You have as much as Nighthawk? Yeah, well, there's a big storm going on in the East Coast, so I think a lot of people are watching the weather. But yeah, this is about what I usually average. Just me, maybe one other person popping in and out. Sometimes Latro hangs around for a little bit. Oh, did he just finish the show? Yeah. I started early tonight because my pop is in the nursing home at the moment. A week ago Thursday, he fell and fractured his hip and had to have a rod put in. 92-year-old man falling and breaking a hip. I'm surprised he didn't break it, but they're trying to boot him out, and he's not quite ready yet. He's still a little shaky. So I'm trying to get the house done and running back and forth between him and me here because the guy, all they serve is decaf. So it was me and Marcy. Really? Yeah. I was watching a little bit of Wayne's, and Rain draws some crowds some nights, and Michigan's UFO sightings and paranormal. They were averaging about 50, but that's good for them. I mean, sometimes they do real good depending on who they have. There's Chris. Hey, Chris, how you doing, sir? I hope you are well. Long time no speak. Like I said, I've been busy. That's why these weekends have been crazy with me. So I've been doing Sundays. Because now tomorrow I have to get up early. That's why I did this early tonight. Okay, I guess. You sound like me. Yeah, my pop fell and fractured his hip. So he's in a nursing home. Trying to get him home. But I'm also trying to make sure he's good and stable when he comes home. So I've been running and trying to change things here for him because things are going to change for him now. So I'm trying to do stuff here, move his room around. And I'm by myself. My son moved out. So, yeah, I've been go. And that's why I've been streaming on Sunday nights. So the next couple of weeks, it'll be either Saturday night or Sunday night. Depending on either how early it will be or how late it will be. And I figure she texts me goodnight. I was waiting for her to text me goodnight. I don't even think she knows I'm streaming, so. Hey, Chris, I'm going to go see Rush up in Cleveland in September. It'll be interesting. Let me see what she says. If it's a video thing, I'm going to have to hold off. Yep. But yeah, yuck. I know you're not a Rush fan, but I am. I saw him in Dayton a couple times. I enjoyed the shows. So, yeah. What did I say? They did that on the aunt wouldn't let her come home, and they murdered her by changing her medicine. Oh, no, I don't think that will happen with him. I'm there every day. I actually did time in that same place he's in right now when I had to do my first hip, and I never went back after that. But yeah. And Poppy too. Alice Cooper's. A lot of these guys, I really honestly think they just need to, retire. It's not the same anymore. It's like Rush. I'm only going to see him because it might be the last time you see him. And I am a Rush fan. I know a lot of people don't, but it's okay. But I'm not too hip. I know I've seen a couple. Oh, I've met Alice Cooper a couple times too here at the Agora. I mean, at the Newport down here in Columbus. The Halloween show with Wendy O. Williams from Plasmatics. And they got in trouble. She came out with just foam on. and she was shaking it off, and none of the cops did. It's pretty bad and funny, but it was a good time. It was a great show. She's crazy. Primus. Yeah, I like Primus. Never got to see them though. Buddy Beer, because the story went. He's not the drinker he used to be though. In Hawaii. Oh, in Hawaii. I wonder if he had a reputation there. That's funny. Make sure you hit the thumbs up, folks. I'd appreciate it. I'm sure Gemma would definitely appreciate it. It's her channel. So, but yeah, Primus. I got to see Dimebag. Then I was there the night he left this world. It's just right up the road from me. Alarosa is just right up the road from me. I literally walked from this house to that show that night. Got there early because it's a walk. It's about maybe a half-hour walk. Not even that early. I was going to ride my back, but I'm glad I didn't. It was a nice night. But it was sad. I got there early. Actually, he was at the bar buying everybody drinks. The Image Plan, yep. He was buying everybody drinks. I was sitting at the bar when it went down. The guy at the bar said, just don't move. So I just stayed there. Answered a few questions after. It was bad. But I got to give the cop credit. He was there fast. I mean, everything happened so fast. It was just crazy. Everybody trying to help each other, people scattering. The bartender looked at me and goes, just stay put. You won't get run over. But we don't get shot. That's exactly what he said. Yeah, it's 11:11. We got Space Godzilla and Godzilla. I know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Ghidorah and Godzilla minus zero. We'll see about that. But I'm ready for it. Ghidorah is an interesting character anyways. Yeah, I have them all. I'm going through them all. I'm going to redo some things. Now that things have changed. Sure, Giles is gone, so I'm going to use the upstairs as storage. I was going to move up there, but I can't hear Pop down here. Now I'm going to have to stay down here. So I'm just going to use the upstairs as storage. And redo my room, redo his. So he's easy to move around. Excuse me, guys. I've been talking all week, so you have to forgive me. Talking to insurance companies. Talking to social services at the nursing home. It's just been a nightmare. That was awful. Which one? What was? Yeah, it was awful, dude. MV. Yeah, it was very awful. Yeah, it's still kind of. You know, they had to tear the place down. Alarosa doesn't stand anymore where it happened. They tore it down about 3 years ago. Bands wouldn't even play in there anymore. Said it was haunted. So there's apartments there now. Yeah. But yeah, it was awful. And it does haunt me. I still, every so often, it gets flashes in my eyes, especially if I hear his music. It immediately comes to my eyes, my head. But I've seen stuff, so nothing bad. Like, I mean, I've seen some bad stuff, but that was probably the craziest thing I ever saw. I was at the Who concert in Cincinnati when they stormed the doors. I was there, and I was just a kid. Yeah, I can't wait. I'm ready for Monarch 2, Chris. Big time. I just rewatched it just to kind of make sure I freshened up on it. I think I'm caught up on everything. I haven't watched the new Dragon. Yeah, wow, huh? That was just a kid. Yeah, I was there for that too. I always seem to be in the wrong places at the wrong. Well, actually, they were good shows, but it's just sad. Well, they weren't good shows because they never got to finish. Dimebag didn't get to finish his. Damage Plan didn't get to finish theirs, and you know, the Who did their show, but it was kind of sad when they found out, and they were not happy. Yeah, me and my brothers stood there and watched them storm the doors. You could hear people screaming. He just pushed me against the wall and said to stay put, just like the bartender did. Were you 9? Really? Yeah, it was about that. Let's see. How old are you, Chris? That'd be about where I was, a little over. But yeah. Saw Elvis. Bad Elvis, but I saw Elvis. It was still a good show. He still performed a good show. I shouldn't say fella. Let's call him FD Elvis. I'm 56. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I was about 14, 15 years old. Well, about 14. About 14, 15 years old. When I went and saw that. Zach is the man now. Yeah, Elvis. I was a kid when I saw him, though. I think I was 8 or 9 years old when I saw Elvis. Oh, that's right, Chris. It is tomorrow. Happy birthday, Chris. Try to have a good one. At least be glad you're not up in that snowstorm. That was nice, MV. My brothers used to take me to shows all the time. I've seen Montrose with Sammy Hagar. I was a kid. I was 7. Saw Grand Funk River. I was 8. So, yeah. Saw Pink Floyd with them a couple times, and for the Animals, and don't remember that much of that one. I was pretty young. They were stuck babysitting me, so they took me anyways. But yeah, even saw the Wall concert. Grand Funk Railroad jammed. Yeah, they did. I even seen 3 Dog Night. And they only took me because they knew I loved that song. Jeremiah was a fool for. Used to sing it all the time. I used to sing that all the time. I'm old. I'm old. Nah, I'm not that old. I'm 63. 63 years old. I'm a boomer. Or almost a boomer. Yeah, I've seen Kiss a couple times. Yeah, we had neighbors that were roadies. Their uncles were roadies for Kiss. Met them down at the downtown when they were in Columbus. Yeah, my brothers like to take me to shows. Saw a lot of shows. I went and saw. I was in the late 70s, 78, 79, 77, 78, 79 was kind of a punker. So I went and saw the Sex Pistols up in Cleveland, which was a crappy show, but it was nice to be there. I saw the Police at the Agora in Cleveland when they were just nothing. Roxanne had just started it in charts, it in the airwaves. I was kind of a punker new waver in those days. But I was raised on everything, bluegrass, Christian music, gospel. My mom and dad loved music. 24 times. I would have liked to see Prince. I heard he put on a hell of a show. I would have liked to see Prince. Oh, for sure. Punk rock was crazy in the day, big time. Dead Kennedys. There was some you can't even talk about because they were so. I've seen Misfits with and without Danzig a couple times. Saw them a couple times with Danzig. Those were interesting shows, but they were great shows. And then without Danzig. And then I've seen Danzig by himself, but he's kind of, pardon me, he's kind of an evil kind of dude. He's not a very pleasant man. And it shows now. So, yeah. Seen Aerosmith a couple times. Saw Nazareth. They put on a good show. Saw Golden Earring. Who else? And then we used to go to the World Series of Rocks, if you remember those. Oh, yeah. I loved all kinds of music, man. Oh, yeah. I love music. If it's good, I'll listen. Yeah, we used to go to the World Series of Rocks up at the arenas in Cleveland and Cincinnati. Seen Genesis with and without Peter Gabriel and without Peter Gabriel. But tickets were cheap back then, and I worked. Even as a kid, I'd cut grass and stuff. We used to when I got older, and because when I turned 18 in Ohio, there was a law where 18-year-olds could buy 3.2 beer. So we would go to different places. Like we used to go to Dayton and see bar shows all the time, go hang out on the weekend, and just go check out all the bar bands. We'd do it here, and then we'd go up to Cleveland. Sometimes we'd go down to Cincinnati, but it's so crazy. $25. Yeah, my ex-wife actually had tickets to Leonard Skinner. She still has them. Yeah. I had tickets for Typo Negative. And you heard what happened to him, so actually 15, yeah. It depended on where you went. We had a lot of during the late 70s and most of the 80s. Here, outdoor venues were big, so you had, what was that place called? Out east. We had a place out east. It was pretty much a mud pit, but you would get Molly Hatchet, and all of them would come through and play. Yeah, those good old days. Seen the Stones. Saw the Stones for the first time at Ohio Stadium. Saw Pink Floyd a couple times at the Ohio Stadium. Saw David Gilmour solo at the Ohio Theater in downtown Columbus. That was a great show. Typo was a great band. Yeah, I like Typo. I was really excited about seeing them in concert. You're probably going to hell now. Yeah, probably. Nah, it's all right to like music if it's not too crazy. Oh, yeah. Greatest guitars. Saw Lenny a couple times, Motorhead. In fact, I drank it with Lenny at Alarosa's one night when they played. Motorhead played there. Saw them in New Haven. Yeah, Motorhead's great. And Lenny was Lemmy. However you see his name, Lenny. He cracked up because I would call him Sir. I thanked him for the drink because him and Dimebag when they were in town. That's what they do. They sat at the bar and they bought everybody drinks sitting at the bar. And he bought around drinks, and I said, "Thank you, sir." He goes, "You calling me sir?" You see that? Give that man another drink. Like, holy crap. But yeah, they were real nice guys. Just down to earth. Lenny was real down to earth. They sat at the bar. Yeah, they sat at the bar. Like I said, when I got to Damage Plan early that night, Dimebag was sitting at the bar drinking a drink. Actually, I think he was drinking Coke, but he was buying rounds for everybody. Met Tom Petty in Florida. Went to Florida in 1982 for spring break. We walked into a record store, and at the time I had real long blonde hair, and we'd been in the sun. My hair would turn almost white. Well, it was almost white anyways for other reasons. But we walked into this record store in Tampa, and I actually had a white jacket on, like a meat jacket, when you see meat cutters use, and a pair of sunglasses on, and I had a hat on. And the guy goes, "You're the winner." And I went, "What?" And the guy goes, "You're a winner." And I look around, there's a bunch of guys walking around looking like Tom Petty. It turned out I won a Tom Petty lookalike concert. Me and the buddy got to go to just out of the freaking blue. Yeah, that's one of my highlights, because I always wanted to meet Tom Petty. He was a nice guy, super nice guy. But yeah, it was hilarious. We were both laughing at you. We were a little drunk. We had been drinking. And we were just laughing, like, no way. Because I told you. I look a lot different back then in those days. But yeah, that kid, I remember this. One kid goes, "You won because of your big nose." I just laughed. I shouldn't have. I was not even participating. We were just checking out the record store. But I'll go back to vinyl. I'm thinking about buying me a turntable again. I loved vinyl. I miss vinyl. But yeah, I've had all kinds of, I've met Ronnie James Dio. I met him like 3 times when he came through. And the amazing thing about Ronnie James Dio, he remembers your name. I don't know how the hell he does it with all the people he's been around in his life. He remembers your name. Met him the first time. We were standing around just seeing if he'd show up after the show. And he come out and started talking to people. And we all introduced ourselves, and he stood there and we talked about music, a little bit about Dungeons and Dragons. And a couple of years later, they came through again. So we hung around back. He goes, "I remember you, Steve and Doug." And I went, "Holy crap." He goes, "Come on in." We sat there and talked. We had a pop with him before he got on the bus and left. And then probably about 6 years later. Yeah, he was real. I mean, he loved his fans. He was really short. So he'd wear these, and I think it was nice that he finally had stopped wearing them toward the end of his career, because, man, his voice, he didn't need to be a big man. That voice was just awesome. But yeah, I've been lucky. Bands, I've met a few stars. I live in Columbus, so Arnold would come through every year. We got to the point we would go down to the shows. Plus, I was a martial artist for a while, and we'd go to the shows. Met Arnold 3 or 4 times. Super nice guy. Loves his fans too. Was he in heaven or hell? I don't know. I think he'd probably be heaven. He was a good guy. He loved his fans. He did a lot. He was just into that knights and white satin thing, I guess you would say. He actually played Dungeons and Dragons, but you wouldn't have known that before his career before that, because if you look at his career before Dio, before he went into rock, I mean, he was kind of rock, but he was like a whole different person. No, the band. Oh, good question. Was he in heaven and hell? Heaven and hell. I don't think that was a band. That was an album. I didn't know. Is there a band called Heaven and Hell? I didn't know if there was. I know that, the album, which is a great album, Black Sabbath. You see, I seen him with Black Sabbath. That's who I saw him on the second time, was with Black Sabbath. The Heaven and Hell tour, in fact. But there was some bands I've seen that I was really kind of bummed out about. I liked Billy Idol, but he was drunk through most of his show. I'll tell you who was hot, though. Now I can't remember her name. She had like a couple one-hit wonders. Well, I shouldn't say a couple, but she had a couple hits. One of the best albums. Yeah, it is a great album. I've seen Sammy in Montrose. I've seen Sammy solo. I saw Sammy with Van Halen, Van Hagar, and he remembered me because I met Sammy when he was with Montrose, because he never seen two guys bring their little brother. And I was just a kid. And he gave my brothers hats and everything. They had merch back then. But he just gave them hats that he had. He thought it was the coolest thing that just, these two guys brought their little brother. It was like, wow. And he remembered my name. He goes, man, you grew up. I said, yeah, I did. So he did. He just laughed. And we saw them at in Indiana at Deer Creek, Van Hagar. But I saw him on his Sammy is a good guy. He was nice both times. The time when I first met him, he was just, we really didn't meet him. He just stood on the stage and was talking to my brothers. Like, he couldn't get over this. These guys brought their little brother. I was like the youngest kid there. They were like, he was so taken back by that. It was like, wow, this guy brought their little brother. That's awesome. But yeah, I got lucky in life in some things. That's why I don't complain too much. The thing I complain about is my body. But yeah, I've been pretty fortunate. A lot of bands, a lot of, like I said, I met Chuck Norris, met Steven Seagal. He was a joke. Who else? Richard Gere. He was okay. Only because he's relatives to my ex-wife. Or somewhere, her grandpa's. Yeah, Sammy did age well. They did. I can't say the same. Yeah, there's a lot of them that did. That's like you look at Steve Tyler now and it's like, dude, just stop. That's like Rolling Stones. I'm glad I saw him when I got to see him, but I wouldn't see him now. I'm kind of hesitant to see him Rush, but at the same point, I want to see him one last time because, I mean, I would have liked to see him with Neil, but hey. But a lot of these guys, it's like I watched this footage of David Lee Roth touring right now, and it's just a joke. It's just a joke. There's a couple bands out there that probably just should call it quits. You know, that's like David Coverdale. He was smart. He says, I'm done. He even gave up social media and everything. Yeah, Russia is good. I saw them 3 times. I saw them for moving pictures. And then, what was the other one we saw them for? The one in Dayton, I don't remember what album was that. And then we're going to see him again in Cleveland in September. King Diamond. Yeah, I wanted to go see it. He came through here once, and I didn't go get to see King Diamond. Yeah, he does still look his age. There's a couple of them that have managed to keep their youthful looks. Farewell, Jukin. Yeah. And my mom was into stars and music, and my dad was into, the cowboy movies and war movies. Typical 50s, 60s family. What you would call a nuclear family. Except my poor dad weighs 4 boys. Hey, no wonder he's doing as good as he is. He'll probably outlive me. I told him if he hit 100 years old, we were going to have a bash for him. I'm going to have one hell of a party for that man. Bless his heart. Guy's been through a lot. DLR is a joke. Yeah. I'd say, just to keep going here, my favorite show ever was, my top #1 show was definitely Pink Floyd The Wall. We saw it in New York at the Madison Square Gardens. Just beautiful. And then I would say the one I had the most fun at was the Heaven and Hell tour. Ronnie just rocked that night. And then when I went and saw the Police for the Ghost and Machine tour, and it was actually a really good show. I enjoyed it. It was a really rock out. That was heavy in the new wave. I went from the punk to the new wave, then right back into the old rock and roll. Gilmore would probably be one of tied up there with the wall. He was just, his solo concert was just, because he's on a small stage, a high theater. And we were right there. We were 6 rows back. And he just jammed, man. It was just glorious. It's day. Yeah, he's a good one too. There's so many good guitarists. That's why I will never say I have a favorite guitarist, because there's so many guitarists out there that can jam. Yeah, we was in a blues phrase. I've seen Robin Trower. I've seen Jeff Beck. I wish I've got to see Jemmy. Who else? Went and saw Dire Straits. You talking about a guy that can pick a guitar. Impressive. Who else? No, I didn't get to see Johnny Winter. He actually opened up for some who was it? We went to go see it and we missed him because we got stuck in traffic because we left too late. And that was a while ago. Heck, I would think I was only 12, 13. And one of my brothers didn't get off working time or something. And we got stuck in traffic, so we missed his show. I can't even remember who he opened up for. I can't even remember that show. But I remember we were supposed to see him because I remember Mike was upset. That's brother in between. My second oldest. I'm third, and I have 2 older brothers and a younger brother that's no longer with us. But I'm going to go ahead and call it a night. Thanks for chatting, MVM. I got to get up in the morning and get over to the nursing home and help fix some things up, straighten some things out, so I can keep him just there a little bit longer so he feels safer, and I can get some more stuff done here. Thanks for hanging. Thanks for the chat. It was great hanging with you guys. It was nice to have you around. And once again, hit that thumbs up. Those who watch the replay, please watch the thumb up. Hit the thumb up. Say hi to Gemma. This is her channel. Like I said, hopefully get back to streaming soon. She's just trying to figure some things out and take care of business. So give her some time. She got a book out. Make sure you go check out that book, Uninvited. Just go to GemmaJade Books on Amazon. Good reads. Also, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys, if not during the week, during the weekend. Have a wonderful one. Have a good week. And I'll see all you guys on the flip side. Peace out. And again, thanks for chatting. It was good to chat. Thank you, MVM. You have a good night. Peace out, folks.